Happy Thursday and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for February the 6th, 2025. It's the 37th day of the year. If you had to dig out this morning or you're dealing with freezing rain, there are still 42 more days of winter to go on the calendar until spring arrives. On the food calendar, today is hashtag National Frozen Yogurt Day. We still don't know if it's really any better for us or less worse than real ice cream, but we know it's damn good, right? There's so much news, my friend. Strap in. I have a lot of great content for you. From the White House to the Senate, and to the DOJ. If you think the last 3 weeks were incredible, things are really going to ramp up now that Pam Bondi has been sworn in as Attorney General. First, President Trump traveled to the Capitol this morning to speak at the National Prayer Breakfast.
Thank you very much. This is very beautiful, I must say. This is a beautiful place. And our country is starting to do very well again. It's happening fast, a little faster than people thought. Thank you especially to Senator Marshall for the beautiful introduction. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Great senator you are. I also want to thank a friend and a man of profound faith and tremendous patriotism who's also become a great friend. You become much friendlier when you have a majority of 2 or 3 or 4. Could even be 5 pretty soon. But for a little while it was 1. And it's Mike Johnson, Speaker. Thank you very much, Mike, very much. And thanks as well to somebody who's doing a fantastic job, Senator Thune. Thank you very much, Senator. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's really great. And Leader Scalise, Steve, wherever you may be, I know I think you're here someplace. There he is, a brave guy, too. A brave guy, I always say it. And Senator Chuck Schumer. Chuck, thank you very much. Thank you. Senator Hassan, thank you very much. Thank you, very nice to see you. Congressman Jeffries, thank you. And many other very distinguished leaders in the room. It's a great group of people. If we could ever come together, it would be unbelievable. May not happen, but it should, and maybe it will. From the earliest days of our republic, faith in God has always been the ultimate source of the strength that beats in the hearts of our nation. We have to bring religion back. We have to bring it back much stronger. It's one of the biggest problems that we've had over the last fairly long period of time. We have to bring it back. Thomas Jefferson himself once attended Sunday services held in the old House chamber on the very ground where I stand today. So there could be nothing more beautiful than for us to gather in this majestic place. It is majestic, and reaffirm that America is and will always be one nation under God. At every stage of the American story, our country has drawn hope and courage and inspiration from our trust in the Almighty. Deep in the soul of every patriot is the knowledge that God has a special plan and a glorious mission for America. And that plan is going to happen. It's going to happen. I hope it happens sooner rather than later. It's going to happen. And it's His hand that guides us every single step of the way. And all of you and the things we have to do is to see the defining role that faith and prayer have played in the life of our nation. And you just have to look at this building, and you can look at each other. You can really look at each other. It's defined almost everyone in this room. I think faith has been very strong with the people in this room. Just steps away from here in the Hall of Columns is the statue of John Winthrop, who famously proclaimed that America would stand as a city upon a hill, a light to all nations. with the eyes of all people upon us. Today, almost 400 years after that famous sermon, we see that with the Lord's help, the city stands taller and shines brighter than ever before, or at least it soon will. In that same hall, we also find the statue of the great Roger Williams, who founded the state of Rhode Island, named its capital city Providence, and built the first Baptist church in America. It's Williams that we have to thank for making religious liberty part of the bedrock of American life. And today we must protect the fundamental freedom with absolute devotion. We must stand strong, just like generations of Americans have done on the battlefields all around the world.
President Trump in the National Prayer Breakfast at the Capitol this morning, making a real effort to extend an olive branch to the Democrats. He went on to announce that he signed an executive order to resume the creation of the National Garden of American Heroes. The president is meeting with members of Congress today on budget resolution and is expected to sign another executive order or maybe more executive orders in the Oval Office this afternoon. During the first couple of weeks of Trump's second presidency, you've heard the saying, there's a new sheriff in town, thrown around a bit, right? I think I even said that once or twice. But now there really is a new sheriff in town.
And I want to congratulate Pam. She's worked hard, so hard, and unbelievably fair and unbelievably good at law enforcement. I just want to congratulate you. Very special person. And I'd also like to thank Justice Clarence Thomas and his incredible wife, who's here someplace. There she is. Incredible, highly respected wife, too, I will say. I remember a couple of years ago, a little bit more than that, toward the end of my first term, I was introducing a lot of people at a big event, about 5,000 people, in your biggest ballroom. You know what that is? And they were getting a nice smattering of applause. They were very important people. And then I introduced Justice Clarence Thomas. The place went crazy. And it was then that I realized that you are a very popular guy and respected guy. So thank you for being here. It's an honor and a great honor for Pam. Thank you very much. Pam was a career prosecutor for nearly 20 years and was one of the toughest and smartest and best and most successful attorney generals in the history of Florida. And I think, put it out this morning, I think she's going to end up going down as the most successful, or certainly one of the most successful attorney generals that this country has ever had. I really believe that. I know her well. A lot of people in Florida, if you're in Florida, you know her well. And it was all good. There was never a problem, no problem. As a prosecutor, she locked up drug dealers and gang members and human traffickers and was waging war all the time on the pill mills, they called them, that fueled the deadly opioid crisis. And she did better than anybody else. There was nobody like her in the country. She also won over $50 billion in lawsuits for the victims of financial fraud and devastating Deepwater Horizon oil spill, which was brutal. And she was the leader of that whole deal, getting that people taken care of. As Attorney General of the United States, Pam has a historic and urgently needed task ahead of her. And probably there's never been a time, Clarence, that's more important than right now. We went through 4 years of not such good work in many ways, not just with the president, at other levels also with the president, obviously.
President Trump spoke for a few more minutes, then Justice Thomas performed the swearing in of our 87th Attorney General.
Thank you, President Trump. I've known you for many, many years, and I will not let you down. I am truly honored that you have asked me to take on this role, and I will make you proud, and I will make this country proud. Thank you. And I just want to thank all of my friends who are here today, my dear friends and my family, my mom, my husband, my pastor, Aaron Burke, is here. So many of my good friends and my colleagues. So thank you all so much. and I will restore integrity to the Justice Department, and I will fight violent crime throughout this country and throughout this world and make America safe again. Thank you.
After that, Pam Bondi went to her new office and, among other things, took immediate action against sanctuary cities, freezing grant money to cities and to states that interfere with federal immigration enforcement, and she set up a group to investigate the investigators, including Special Counsel Jack Smith, New York DA Alvin Bragg, and New York Attorney General Letitia James, who all have one thing in common: persecution of Donald Trump. And that's only day one. This is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds on Newsmax.
Congressman Byron Donalds, sir, this is one of the things that I have been so concerned about is, A, will she get confirmed, and B, once she gets in there, will she do and help execute the agenda of the president against the lawfare?
Well, first of all, congratulations to one of our fellow Floridians, Pam Bondi. She did a great job as AG of Florida. She'll do a phenomenal job as the Attorney General of the United States. But to your question, will she get the job done? The answer is yes. Because while Pam was out of office for the last several years, she has been working with President Trump and his team about the strategies that are important. She knows exactly what's on the president's mind and what needs to occur. And let's make no mistake about it, there must be a house cleaning at the Department of Justice in the political brass. They are the ones that were weaponizing government, not just against Donald Trump, but against Americans who supported Donald Trump, who were conservatives, or who were just fighting for their children against the radical establishment in too many school districts across America. So she's going to deliver just like everybody else in the cabinet is delivering on the agenda that President Trump laid out.
No, 100%. Well, within 1 hour of taking office, she froze all federal funding to sanctuary cities. So this could actually be the deal breaker for a lot of Democrats. Memo
to the Democrats, guess what? The American people are not with you when it comes to sanctuary cities. They do not agree with this. They want an orderly, legal immigration process. They don't want the humanitarian crisis created by Joe Biden. They were very clear in that. And if you talk to people in Chicago, in New York, even in Los Angeles, they don't want to see this continue. So the response from Capitol Hill is clear. If you want to violate federal laws and have sanctuary cities, then you're not entitled to federal dollars.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. But the next thing, too, and this is going to be challenged everywhere, is what Elon is doing. Now, Democrats are just freaking out, and all Elon is doing is taking a big old flashlight, shining it on a bunch of junk that should have been taken out of the government years ago, and they're saying, oh, he's illegally appointed. Like, what are they hiding?
A lot. And trust me, there's probably more that they're going to uncover over the next several months. Let's just take USAID. That place has been spending American taxpayer dollars in ways that is not in the interest of the American people or of the elected representatives sent to Washington to lead this government. So they can complain about Elon all they want, but I don't remember them complaining when George Soros and his son Alex Soros had unfettered access to the Biden White House. They weren't complaining then. They weren't complaining when all their front groups were getting money out of Washington, D.C. They're only upset now because we're actually looking at the books, the details, and cleaning it up once and for all.
Yeah. Well, what's more interesting, too, is like the deep state. Apparently, according to the New York Times, it didn't exist back in 2017 was Trump was saying that he was fighting it. But now in 2024, the same New York Times went around and said, oh, actually, the deep state does exist, and it's awesome. It's like no, they're not fooling anybody. These people live in such a bubble that they don't think that we, the people, have like access to the internet or read things or know things. We know more than most people that actually work in D.C., sir.
Absolutely correct. And I think the best thing that's occurred in our politics has been alternative media, which is quite frankly now becoming the real media. It's the different outlets like yours and so many others that are able to actually put information out for people to see, digest, read, and really think about. And the more we push these stories forward to the forefront, we tell people what's actually going on in their government, the more they are siding with the common sense, America First vision of Donald Trump. Yeah. And so, look, the Democrats and the media, they can be all upset, but it's their own fault because they let their own power get in the way of what was in the best interest of the American people, we are not going to fall down the road that they did. We're going to make sure that this government does its job, and that's to be in the interest of every American, while at the same time not wasting their money or creating inflation in the process.
That's Florida Congressman Byron Donalds on Newsmax with Carl Higbie. Is it just because of Trump derangement syndrome, which, believe you me, is still alive and well? Or is there something bigger at work here? What are Democrats so afraid of? Why are they so against DOGE? Is it just Elon Musk? More from Rob Finnerty, host of Finnerty at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Donald Trump was elected president, and as a result of that, he's doing what he said he would do. He's doing what he campaigned to do, which includes appointing the wealthiest man in human history to run the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, a department that is literally called the Department of Government Efficiency. I don't think the purpose of the department could be any more clear, but there seems to be a whole lot of confusion on the left about what this department does. I'm not sure what Democrats thought this department would be doing. A department called the Department of Government Efficiency. What did they think it was going to do? And why are they so afraid of government efficiency? The Biden administration hired thousands of IRS agents over 4 years to audit the American people, to audit you, to clean the American people out, to suck the American taxpayers dry for all of their little pet projects, like a trans comic book in the nation of Peru, where Superman has a relationship with a man. Why we think that's important, I have no idea. But all of this would have continued if Donald Trump didn't win the election 3 months ago today. In fact, all of this would have gotten worse because Democrats have no problem auditing you, the American people. They have no problem forcing you to open your books. But when Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency asks them to do the same thing, Democrats suddenly claim they're at war.
God shut down the Senate. We are at war. Anytime a person can pay $250 million into a campaign and they be given full access to the Department of Treasury of the United States of America, we are at war.
So we're apparently now at war as well. This while our national debt is now over $36 trillion. Maybe we're a little bit overdue for some government efficiency. Maybe we should declare war on a government that hasn't been efficient since before FDR. So what are Democrats so upset about? It kind of makes you think that they're hiding something, doesn't it? It kind of makes you think that they have been hiding a whole lot from the American people for a long time. That would be the only logical explanation for why an elected member of Congress would claim that Elon Musk is a Nazi Nepo baby.
With unprecedented organizing, mobilizing, agitating, we will see you in the courts, in Congress, in the streets. Elon Musk is a Nazi Nepo baby.
That's very nice. Back to the Nazi stuff, too. It worked so well for you before the election. What a disgusting thing to say. That was Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley there. From the Babylon Bee today, Democrats warn that Trump's unelected shadow government is dismantling their unelected shadow government, which, although is satire, in the land of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, satire is typically truth. The Democrat Party, blinded by wokeness and years of bad ideas from extremely average people, now find themselves in an almost un-American position of protesting a program designed to save Americans money. Think about that for a moment. The Department of Government Efficiency was literally created to fix inefficiencies in the federal government and save Americans money, meaning once again Democrats have put themselves in a position to fight against common sense.
We will fight their violation of civil service laws. We will fight their violation of civil rights laws. We will fight their violations of separation of powers. We will fight their violations of our Constitution of the United States of America.
Seriously, can you imagine yelling like that about anything? And while they're doing that, while they're using the exact same language they told us Donald Trump was going to use, imagine for just one moment Caroline Leavitt's press briefing and what that would look like today if Donald Trump stated those exact same words and asked millions of his supporters to descend on Washington, because that's what the very junior senator in Massachusetts did, junior in all possible ways. This is Ed Markey.
This is the time when we have to stand up and to fight, to not stand on the sidelines, to have people by the millions are going to have to stand up and protest. When we come back here the next time, there should be hundreds of thousands and millions of people descending on Washington, D.C.
Used to be an ice cream salesman, Ed Markey. Can you imagine that?
We need hundreds of thousands, no, millions of people to descend on Washington, D.C. and fight. Are any Democrats denouncing those statements today from Senator Ed Markey? Rhymes with Bismarcky, who oddly enough had a song called What Come Around Goes Around.
Goes around. What comes around goes around. What comes around goes around. What comes around goes around.
I didn't say it was good. I just said it was a song. But if you are a young rap fan and you're not familiar with Bismarcky, go check it out because he does have some good stuff. Never mind President Trump, right? Imagine any Republican, not just Trump, some Republican senator getting up, screaming like a lunatic like that, even before January 6th, 2021. Greg Kelly, by the way, had former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio on his show last night, which I am going to play for you in a bit. But first, back to Rob Finnerty on DOGE derangement syndrome.
Why would anyone elected to represent Americans, Democrats and Republicans, be so upset in an almost childish way with someone coming in and cleaning up spending in the federal government? The answer is simple. They know, Democrats know, the grift is finally up and that none of the programs that are being cut are Republican programs. Seriously, every single program, dozens and dozens, are all Democrat programs. And that list of the absolutely absurd just keeps getting longer every single day.
I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting, federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you.
She did, and I'm going to do that. But funding for each one of those programs that she just mentioned has now been terminated. And dozens of other Democratic programs that have been slipped into USAID for the last several years that the American people had no idea they were paying for, like $2 million for sex change operations in Guatemala, $30 million to study AIDS among sex workers and trans people in South Africa, $2 million for Moroccan pottery programs. Moroccan pottery is, I'm sure, lovely. Do we need to be spending $2 million so they can do their pottery? Programs to send Ukrainian fashion students to Paris Fashion Week. $1.5 million for DEI programs in Serbia. Do you know where Serbia is? I had to look it up. I didn't. $70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland. Again, I'm Irish. I don't know what that would be like. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. The casting call would take weeks to cast these things, right? $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $15 million for condoms in Afghanistan, $1 million to help disabled people in Tajikistan become climate leaders. Now that one really got me. You know, Tajikistan, which is right near Afghanistan and Pakistan and Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. Something tells me that the good people of Tajikistan are not that concerned with the climate. All of these programs were started by Democrats and were run by Democrats for years, and now, as Trump derangement syndrome morphs into DOGE derangement syndrome, all of these programs are being terminated immediately.
Catch Finnerty on Newsmax weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Democrats are not concerned about any of that insanity, right? They're not concerned about Senator Markey's comments or crazy Cory Booker. They haven't said anything about Representative Ilhan Omar, but they want to have a House inquiry into South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace for using a slur in a debate over the money for the Guatemala trans something or other that Rob just mentioned. Mace, who you may recall pushed legislation to keep transgender women out of ladies' bathrooms in federal buildings, used the word trannies while referring to the project in Guatemala. And Democrats are all up in arms about that. By the way, 82-year-old Senator Mitch McConnell, who took another fall on some steps outside the Senate chamber yesterday, is back at work today. According to one of his aides, McConnell is fine and has lingering effects of polio, which he had when he was a child, in his left leg, but that will not disrupt his regular schedule of work, according to a McConnell aide. And yes, McConnell did resign last year as Senate leader, but is continuing to serve in the Senate. And as I mentioned, Newsmax's Greg Kelly spoke with recently released J6 defendant and former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio.
What have you been doing? What have you been doing? How have you been enjoying? You were away for 3 years, Omo. So what have you been doing?
So I'll be honest. When before I left prison, I said, you know what? I'm just going to relax. I'm going to kick back, and I'm just going to enjoy my life, and I'm going to sit home and just watch movies. You know, and that's not what I've done at all. I've hardly slept. I've kind of just jumped back on the horse, but I have enjoyed my time with my family, and I have been fighting, you know, and just yesterday 2 weeks ago, I was in prison, and just last night I was in Mar-a-Lago at the president's house.
That is so amazing. From prison to Mar-a-Lago, the most exclusive house in the world, possibly more exclusive than the White House, and there you are. Excuse me. What about your next steps professionally? What are you thinking about? I mean, everybody knows your name. And if they watch this show, they know you've been lied about, maligned, and the Proud Boys too. What are you thinking long term? What's next for you?
I think last time I was on, I told you that I was going to take some time and I was going to really think about what I was going to do. And I think my future's in politics. I think I'm going to take a serious look at running for office at some point in 2026 or 2028. And I believe that there is a path for that because it is my passion. You know, I wanted to take some time to really think about it. And I think I've made up my mind that I think that I am going to go ahead and push. And again, there's a lot of things that need to be aligned for that to happen. So I am going to take my time with picking what office specifically, what district, is it going to be local? Is it going to be at a federal level? I don't know, but I will tell you that I have made a decision.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's very intriguing, and I'm glad you're going to be contributing in the public square. What was the worst part of prison, and what was the best part? I'm guessing there might have been one good part.
I mean, there is. I got closer to God while I was in there, and I found my faith. You know, I had lost a little bit of my faith, but being in there actually taught me what was important and what's not. And my list of priorities kind of shifted. You know, I did have country up there almost at the top, and I think that was a mistake. I think in order to make America great again, I think that we have to start at home. I think we have to start with our families. I think that we have to start with our people. You know, so I noticed that I needed to fix my own home before I tried to make America better. And I think that I realized that, and that was the best part. The worst part was being away from family, and then another thing that was pretty bad, being transferred to 40 different prisons and being in solitary confinement for 3 years of my life. But like, I'm laughing about it now, but I could look back at it and laugh at it. I don't have to hold it in, and I don't have to be angry about it.
Enrique Tarrio, we're so glad you're free and contributing, and best to your mom, a great lady who I know, well, You relied on her a great deal, and she's the best, and so are you. All right, to be continued, sir.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate you.
Wow. Enrique Tarrio on Greg Kelly reports. His mom, who was on a quest to get her son released, had been on Greg's show and other Newsmax shows numerous times over the past 3 years. We featured her here in the Newsmax Daily a few times as well. And you heard him say he was transferred almost 40 times and was in solitary confinement. I remind you, Enrique wasn't at the Capitol or even in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, 2021. Sentenced to 22 years in prison. 22 years, and was in solitary for seditious conspiracy, I think was the charge. What would have happened to this man and hundreds of others who were grossly overcharged? I mean, really, think about that. 22 years, and there are hundreds of other stories. He's high profile because of the Proud Boys, but think of the hundreds of people that you never even heard of. All right, if Trump never pardoned them, what would have happened to a lot of these people? And Enrique now thinks he has a future in politics. His home, by the way, is in Miami. Greg also did a segment on the release of the 60 Minutes Kamala Harris tape.
This interview should have been a knockout blow, right? After this thing aired, with the footage that they actually had in their possession, the race really should have been over Monday morning. It airs on Sunday night. It could have been over on Monday. Now, some of this stuff you've seen before. They put a big chunk of this online, but some of it you haven't. This is because of the lawsuit, and the FCC is investigating whether all of this was election interference. So this is what Kamala Harris normally sounds like on the big pressing issues of our day at the time, and still now, but especially back then, Israel and the conflict with Hamas and what we were going to do about it.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
The work that we have done has brought on movements, that has brought on things that we are trying to accomplish in the region. It makes no sense. But she's a Democrat. It's mainstream media, CBS News, so they can't put this out. So they clean it up. They clean her up, and they deceive the American people. This is what actually aired on television about when the Israel question came up.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Clear, concise, but she didn't say it. She actually didn't say it in the moment. This is crazy. And it gets worse, a lot worse. Here's a moment where she thinks, okay, the camera's off. It's actually not pointing at her. But the guy, Whitaker, who's not bad, it's really the producer and the editor, asked her, okay, so really, how are you going to pay for this stuff? All this pie in the sky stuff. How are you going to pay for it? Tell me. I want to know as a person.
So how are you going to convince a divided Congress that what you say, your plans, are something that they should all agree to and provide to the American people when they've shown no inclination to do that up to this point?
Is that what you needed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. 30 seconds of silence, please, for room tone. Cameras are off.
How will you?
It's going to be taxes. It's going to be literally, if the economists, I mean, they're from each spectrum.
But I hear what you're saying about the economists. This is true.
Yeah.
But Congress is not the economists.
I know,
but it's going to be what? It's going to be taxes. It's going to literally the economist. I mean, they're from each spectrum. I know, but when this thing aired, it should have shocked the system.
That's Greg Kelly, host of Greg Kelly Reports, 9 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. As he said, it's all over social media. It's all over the internet. You can go see all that you want. And look at this, right? A lot of people think Kamala was a DEI hire. Google says it's ending DEI-based hiring practices that were implemented in 2020, attributing it to recent executive orders by the president and recent court decisions. The word on the street is they think the DEI practices may keep them from getting government contracts with the Trump administration. Workday, the company Workday is laying off 1,700 employees. I think they're headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, or at least they have a big office there in Charlotte. On Wall Street, stock markets opened slightly higher this morning. Philip Morris is among today's big earnings. And the biggest of the big, Amazon, will deliver its end-of-year earnings after the closing bell today, probably about 4:10 Eastern, which includes Christmas time. So these are some of the most watched numbers. Bitcoin, at the time of this recording, at 98,300 and change. And this is good news for everybody. There is a new bill in Congress co-sponsored by Republican Senator Josh Hawley and Democrat Bernie Sanders that would cap the amount of interest a credit card can charge you at 10%. We desperately need this. Credit card debt is killing people. It's at an all-time high because the interest rates are 25, 26, 28%. It's insane. And check this out. According to Fortune magazine, 4 years ago, you know what that means? 4 years ago, when Biden first became president, the average APR on credit cards was less than 15%. By the end of last year, 2024, 4 years later, the average was over 21%. Another Biden accomplishment. Be sure to keep up with all of the news and the many breaking developments throughout the day and tonight on Newsmax N2 and at Newsmax.com. It all begins each and every day with Wake Up America, followed by a fantastic lineup of shows with expert analysis from people like political analyst Mark Halpern, Judge Napolitano, Hogan Gidley, Senator Rick Santorum, Professor Dershowitz, and many, many others. I'm Tony Marino. This is the Newsmax Daily. Thank you, as always, for checking it out. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy some frozen yogurt and keep on fighting the
information.
News breaks.
Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.